Okay, well, seems my camera's been disabled. Uh, I don't know what. Oh, there you go. There's my mic. Yeah, my camera's been disabled, so not sure what's. It's too bad. Okay, well, it's going to be an audio presentation. Um, Need to extend this microphone a little bit more. I might do it. Okay. So basically, I'm going to dictate what I've written, and pretty much, I mean, it's going to be blank. I'm going to say what I usually say at the end of my messages, which is Shabbat Shalom and Maranatha. That's all it has so far. And the sad thing um, is that I have no scriptures to back up what I'm saying. It's not something I'm trying to prove. It's more of an opinion piece. So that's where we're starting off. So here we go. So starting with there are specific things. Um, there are specific things throughout history have kept their timeless appeal. Um, basically, food, food and drink. Again, a little bit because this is a little too. So I'll put it up that much, maybe halfway. Okay, that's good. Food and drink is another one. Basically, if you want to know what they are, you just go to like Instagram, social media, and you would find out what these things are. And they have not, to this day, even to this day, they have not ceased to capture our collective attentions. But essentially, yeah, pursuit of wealth, food, clothing, fashionable clothing, I'd say, clothing, uh, pleasure, happiness, pleasure, pleasure seeking, the pleasures of life, I guess you could say, being happy. These are things that I think they center around being feeling happy. They're mostly emotionally, yeah, they do provide, the necessities of life. Think of wealth, it helps you to buy food, drink, and clothing and acquire pleasure. Food and drink keep you alive. Clothing keeps you warm. Pleasure does not. That's one of those things that is not necessary. Although some would argue, everyone needs to have a little bit of fun in life, to have some measure of joy, and I wouldn't disagree with that. There are pleasures in life that are sometimes even free, like just enjoying fresh air and the world we live in and the company of others. So it's not inherently wrong, to find pleasure, seek pleasure and happiness. Be happy, pleasure, essentially. The pleasures, I'd say the pleasures of man, human, and today. Less than 3 hours to complete because we started, I think, 1:30. So This is kind of uh, this is going to come down to the wire, essentially. If I can do this in 3 hours or less than 3 hours now. Um, so the topic today is the appeal of a good story. Story, engrossing story, a very a captivating story. It doesn't It's not just necessarily a good story. Everybody finds it. It's effective. Attention grabbing, you could say even. It is essentially it is captivating because does not have to be good, although I do believe they should be, ideally. So I'm going to just delete everything that on this so far. So in ancient times, uh, in ancient time, the form of parables, uh, tales told around a campfire, so to speak. At night or day, however you want to, whatever environment you envision. Or you had the theater, Shakespeare, plays, things like that. And I think it's medieval times, isn't it? Middle Ages. It was presented in the form of theater, think exam, and opera. Obviously, is another one. Uh, so yeah, the form of theater, Shakespearean musicals, operas, and so on. In our modern day, since I would say since the 20th century, it has taken the form television, movies, uh, YouTube, Netflix, medium. These are stories, and even you could say social media like TikTok and Instagram. Instagram. We could say that. Instagram snippets. What is that? Like a few minutes. And TikTok in seconds even they post stories. I believe Instagram is under 10 minutes. TikTok in a few seconds. So, and these stories are being told, are being so our stories. Uh, I guess I want to say intentionally, but they're being given, not given, sold out. That's not the right word, but essentially we're transmitting these stories, or we're handing them off to new generations. Think of the stories of World War I, World War II, people who lived during that time. Even World War II are mostly dead by now. So we are handing the baton over, so to speak. They're being down. Yeah, passed down is the best way to put it. Down to the young generation, new generation, the new generations, uh, and passed on to their descendants. They, passing them, should be to their descendants. That's just the way stories work. If the story is seen as uh, valuable, it is, but people value different things at different times. So if God did not preserve the Bible, you'd have a tougher time passing that on. But it has been, thankfully. So this is the first point. First question is the appeal. I talk about why are they so appealing. Again, this is not so much scripturally based. This is human observations that I've made just in life. Um, Even this topic of I'm speaking about, more of a topic I just meditate on and come to some conclusions or some ideas of why things are the way they are. So why are they so appealing to us? Of all the species on the planet, human beings are it's just an instinct, it seems, like a fish to water or a bird flying in the air. It's just natural for us to be drawn into a story and make them so appealing to us. Including myself, all people, including myself, can binge watch these stories or content on social media, YouTube, Netflix, etc. Or platform. Insert your streaming platform. Insert the name of your streaming platform. Uh, hours. We can binge watch hours of so many people can binge watch hours of content. Social media, YouTube, insert the name. Uh, yeah, these are long stories. These are these are stories. So it is something that draws us in. It is innate to our being, I believe. I believe this is something that's phenomena, I guess you could say. Phenomena is not an accident that we were designed to be drawn to stories and not just be drawn into them as consumers, but to uh, that we were designed not only to be drawn to stories, but to be attracted by uh, phenomena. Is that a word? Phenomenon, maybe phenomenon. We were designed, I believe, in my opinion, we're designed not only to be drawn in to stories, uh, but to also be given the gift, the talent of storytelling. So you have storytellers, and you have people who not so good. I would include myself in that. I'm not the greatest storyteller. That's something I have not really practiced in my life. It's just something that does not come as naturally to me. I mean, telling a story, I just essentially talk about other things. I'm not so much a storyteller. I'm more somebody that uh, presents exposition. I expand on things that already exist. So I'm not sure if that's so much of a storyteller. Maybe a more of a maybe a story builder. I don't know. I can build on top of what already exists. Um, so it is something innate in our being, into our experience of a human as a human. Uh, our imagination, our emotion, strongly connected to us individually, culturally. It is part of the journey of life, which is a story all on its own. So that was a long sentence. I'm just going to try to simplify that a little more. So stories, um, yeah, I do believe, yeah, it's innate to who we are. We are designed to not so much consume it. People look at YouTube and whatever as just ways to make money. It's profiteering, but when you break it down, it really is. They provide a service to humanity. It sounds like a stretch, but when you tell stories, that is a service to humanity. It's necessary to life, but it could be because it seems like it's such an important aspect of living that it's. Can you imagine life without stories? It's like without stories, there is no life, and without life, there is no stories. It's like how you have the art. They say art imitates life, and then some say life. Art. There's that saying, and it's not false because depending on what that is, if it's pop culture, say it's pop culture imitating life, or if it's actual, reality imitating pop culture, that can be mostly negative usually. But if it's uh, like a legendary tale, mythology imitating life, that can be good. And if it's life imitating mythology and legendary tales, that can be good as well. Um, and I'm saying that not saying that all mythology is good, because there's a lot of diabolical things, evil things that are being done in some cultures' mythology. But I'm saying that most of the time, when we look at the tales of old, they usually contain a lesson, a morale of the story, a higher standard of achievement of talent. It's a higher standard of living most of the time. That it's not just people being idiots, but it usually is people aspiring to become greater. And I think that's where we're really going to get a little bit deeper with the introduction. So let me just get some water before I continue on. Okay, I'm going to. How do I move this a little closer to me? I'm gonna have to move my bed a little bit. Okay. That looks good. Okay, just gonna do that there. Okay. Try to move this. That might do it. Okay. That's much better. Okay. All right. I'm feeling sluggish today. I don't know if it's because I slept in or what. And when I say slept in, I woke up at 9. So it's not technically, maybe it's not sleeping in to most, but my plan was to wake up at 4 or 5. So that's why I consider it sleeping in. So again, yeah, going back to the gift of storytelling, it is something that draws us in. Yeah, it is innate to our being. I do believe, in my opinion, we were designed to not only consume, I should say, take in stories, process them, that they stimulate us in many ways, emotionally and so on. But we were also designed to be able to tell stories, to have that gift. Um, so I'm going to say as well that we were designed build so building on that thought of us being designed to process these stories. Uh, I believe another reason why that is because when we look at ourselves, when we analyze uh, what kind of creatures we are. Okay, I don't know. I can't get the sentence out, but essentially, I believe that's the reason we have imaginations. I believe it's the reason we have not only imaginations but emotions. So how do I say this? I believe there's a lot of opinion. So essentially, it's not a Bible study. It's just like it's the most unbible study I've done so far. It's just me talking about my own thoughts. So I believe it is the reason. One of the reasons. I believe that one of the reasons we have imagination and emotions is stories. Okay, so is because stories stimulate us in our imagination, our emotions, and even our lives to a lot of to a to a I don't want to say limited, but it does stimulate us in life in this experience. Um, so yeah, stories stimulate both. They're strongly connected to us. Individually, culturally. I mean, you take so many different cultures, but if you're American and you talk about the story of Abraham Lincoln, and again, stories don't have to be always fictional. No, it includes fiction and nonfiction. So I should mention that at the beginning, to be honest. So, so it's not just people making things up. Uh, so that I should get that out of the way at the beginning. When I say story, that includes both fiction and nonfiction, which is essentially reality or human history. Uh, Christ used fictional stories that may or may not have happened, but he did use them because he did not give specific names for the most part. Most of his parents talking about, uh, yeah, so uh, I can't pronounce words. They are connected to our identities individually, individually and culturally. I want to keep these sentences kind of short. So individually, we can think of biographies of the name that is culturally relevant to the audience and culturally. So that could be on an individual level and cultural level. So that could be, the history of, how this civilization came about, or the wars of Japan or China. You look at how an empire emerges. Um, so, for example, you could say uh, the culture that emerged. So the rise of the Roman Empire, for example. Okay, what's going on here? Did my computer just freeze? Okay, it did not freeze. Good. All right. So what are we doing for 2 hours. Okay. And then we have our own lives, which are stories of their own, and even our stories of their own. Uh, an observation that you've probably made, and I have made, uh, an observation you probably did too, is that religious texts, including God's word, holy scriptures, are made up, or I should say consist of. I'm going to say, well, you made that up. No, I mean, they consist of, mostly, for the most part, when you pick out from Proverbs, one, Proverbs tells a story. Stories. I believe this was intentional to help us. So I believe this was in order to help us. So my second point now. Point was the appeal of stories. The second point is now the purpose. Their purpose. So the purpose. All right. Let's just take a short break. Not like a long break, but maybe just give me 2 minutes to just decongest myself. I'm a little congested right now. I'll come right back. Okay, let's get this back together now. Just gonna loosen my tight. Some people don't even believe in belts. Not that they don't believe they exist, but I'm kind of leaning towards that now that us to wear belts. Better to just wear suspenders because belts constrict the blood flow towards our, not only our legs but even our vital organs. So there is an argument against belts, the benefit of belts. What's up? Is that a good enough reason to wear belts just to keep your pants up when there's other ways to do it, like suspenders that do not restrict blood flow? Oh, it keeps falling. Gotta. That's getting annoying. I'm gonna have to get this thing taken care of first. I can't start. Need something heavy. This heavy? It's kind of heavy. All right, so today feels like one of those days where you need a coffee. I think I should drink coffee. I don't know. It's just something. I'm just not waking up today. Even though technically I'm awake, but I just don't feel like I'm perky. I just feel very slow, like a tortoise or something. Okay, so let's just continue on here. Okay, I said here last thing I said was an observation that I've made is that religious texts, including God's word, are um, can start stories. I believe this was intentional in order to help us. So that leads me to my second point: the purpose of stories. The purpose. So it's not just that they're appealing, we know that, um, but they're not just for time. They take time. I'm not saying they all waste time, but so why are they important? So this is mostly, I guess you could say, reflective kind of presentation. So why are they important? And let's also mind, um, why do you speak in parables? The scripture or the verse, it says, because to you it is given, to them it is not. So people would ask, okay, why did he conceal, truths or messages within another message, within a story? And you could say, well, if they really wanted to learn, they will find out. But is it just human will, or is it something divine, like the Spirit of God basically being given for somebody to understand it? I can't really answer that, to be honest, but it is, again, you said it's a mystery because hearing they will hear or they won't hear, and they won't understand. Not everybody will understand or won't understand, but most people will not. I think it's kind of like sifting through the wheat, through the fields, and you're saying, okay, who's going to actually, who really wants it? Who really wants the truth? Um, I suppose it is a choice that people will make as to, how much truth they will learn. I do believe, God calls people at a specific time in their lives. But on top of that, God selects people at different times and stages of history in their lives and human history in a big picture, looking at human history. But individually, everybody has a decision. They've been given free will. All of us have been given free will to uh, decide what what we want to say, what we want to do. We've all been given like a uh, free will to decide whether we will understand certain things. In the case of people who've been called out of the world, out of darkness, you are given a choice whether you want to act to. Uh, Speaking, God gave us the Spirit. So are we going to choose to enhance the flame? Or are we going to let it die out? Are we going to feed the flame? Or are we going to extinguish it? Or not extinguish it, but let it, just leave it, just kind of neglect it. One of the most important things to feed a fire is oxygen, funnily enough. So why are they important? Not, or they're not only to uh, fill the time, but I believe they're meant to impart lessons, just like simple English, teach us lessons, teach us valuable life lessons. Okay, so the mute button works. Okay, so you're meant to teach us valuable life lessons, um, principles, the moral principles, moral principles that we would not otherwise understand unless it was explained to us. Not explained, unless it was um, expressed through the medium of stories. And this is mostly, this is my This is what happens when you listen to Jordan Peterson. Essentially, he does cover a lot of what I'm talking about, but essentially, he's saying that to explain something as complex as self sacrifice, for example, will take so many books um, to, to explain a, a, a concept or a value, or how do you say it? Anyway, it's a concept to explain something like self sacrifice, sacrifice, self sacrifice, yeah, self sacrifice, for example, can take volumes of books. I'm not talking about stories. I'm talking about like educational, professorial, basically books of explaining it. These are books that are going into the science. Can take volumes of scientific books, philosophical books. You could even say that. Uh, so volumes of books, explaining things in a scientific way. I'm not saying that these are not stories that cover areas like ethics, philosophy, psychology, um, sociology, anthropology. I mean, just name it. So multifaceted. Anthropology, okay, and many others. Um, but it's complex. It's explaining, but it's simply, or it won't simply. It's complicated. Or more simply complicated to explain concepts and ideas in a scientific way. In a scientific way um, that does not employ storytelling. On the other hand, in a short story about a specific lesson or principle, or watching a movie about it, demonstrates uh, a movie about it that shows us, why this is important, beneficial to us, is so much easier uh, to understand and can be understood by more people. It doesn't take somebody with a PhD to understand uh, something so simple through a story, like the tortoise and the hare. I mean, something like that doesn't take someone with a PhD rocket science to understand that story. But if I would explain that, patience and so on, it might take a PhD to understand, uh, like the real, benefits and how to do it and so on and why. Uh, so yeah, reading a short story about it, story, a short story, or an hour long movie about the same concept, say self-sacrifice again, is easier to understand. I don't know. Is there a nursery rhyme or like a kid story talking about the value of something that's really complex? Um, Maybe Beauty and the Beast, for example. Like that's a tale of how we should not judge people by their outward appearance. Right. That's one of the lessons I draw from it, at least. That people are more than just who they are on the outside. So I'll just talk about that. That one's a little easier. So, uh, not judging people, judging others based on their physical appearance. Okay, so I'm going to use that. That's a really specific example. So on the other hand, reading a short story, reading a story, actually, let's say reading Beauty and the Beast, watching the same movie, this new version. It's, on the other hand, it does not take a PhD to understand. It does not take a PhD to understand and the value of not judging others based on physical appearance, since even a child can read, watch, name up the units can say, even a child can read or watch Beauty and the Beast and understand. So it does not take a PhD to understand the value of not judging others based on their physical appearance. On the other hand, when it comes to stories, not the PhD of education, a post-secondary education to understand the value of not judging others based on their physical appearance, since even a child can read, watch um, Beauty and the Beast, and and see and understand the value, yeah, and see the value of see the value of this, and see the value, not just see it, and understand how it is demonstrated, practice it. So it's not only understanding it, it's also knowing how to apply it. So even a child can read and understand not only why it's important, but how it can be achieved in their own life. Okay, so I think that's the first 2 points. So I wanted to just cover why they're so appealing. It's just something that not so much that it puzzles me, but it is something you just cannot escape. You cannot escape the reality that the stories are just so are. So reading a short story, I'm just going to read what I've written, what I've written here, or watching a 2 hour movie, or maybe even a series that demonstrates why such a value, fill in the value, is important and beneficial to live, and why it is beneficial to live in such a way. Can even they can even also teach us how to live better. Okay, it's kind of repetitious. Telling these things through stories is so much simpler, and they also carry a greater emotional impact than just being philosophical about it. Um, so yeah, that's an important aspect of it as well, the emotional impact. And not only that, but they carry the story, like Beauty and the Beast, carries with it, or brings with it a greater emotional impact, gives a greater impact than being philosophy book, a philosophical book about the same ideas. And yeah, this is a talk that is mostly, I guess you could say, philosophical. I'm not telling a story, obviously. I'm kind of explaining, trying to explain anyway, why these stories are so powerful. So they help us learn lessons. They help us to develop ourselves. Um, Let me just scroll up here a little bit. So I put here the purpose is principles we would not understand accept your stories. Okay, so I'm going to say, so again, uh, I believe the purpose of stories is to help us teach lessons, uh, to develop character, help us develop character. Or, you know, don't develop character by movie, but show us. They teach us lessons. They show us how to develop character. Um, they can serve as cautionary tales, as cautionary tales. So, um, you would say, fear of God in some ways. You know, why? And to inspire us to live better lives. Um, and to treat others to a better standard, to treat others better, or to treat others, how do I say, um, so teach us lessons, show us how to develop character, inspire inspire us to live, serve as cautionary tales, cautionary tales. That's the second one. It's kind of negative, so I don't want to lessons. They show us how to inspire us. Stories is teach us lessons. Okay, inspire us. And and how to interact with the way in a socially acceptable manner, depending on the culture that is presenting it. I mean, you have different standards depending on if it's an American movie or a British movie or a Chinese movie. There are different standards, but it shows us how to interact with others in a socially acceptable manner, depending on uh, where the story originates from, among other reasons. Those are just a few. Those are, they're only a few reasons come to mind. Okay, I think the next point, getting uh, to the next point. So the next point is, and I don't think I'm going to get too deep into this, but I'm going to talk about the ingredients to an effective story. I'm just going to touch on this a little bit. This is the last point. Ingredients to a word is, can I say a worthy story? It's more like to maybe you could say a purposeful story. Let's just put it that way. Purposeful, uh, attention grabbing story. Okay, so that's the third point. It's the ingredients to that. Um, so it does sound like a screenwriting class a little bit. It turned out that way. Okay, so these are the ingredients to a purposeful, a captivating story. So number one, you should say, so point A, containing a morale or maybe even multiple morals of the story. Again, Beauty and the Beast, Beauty and the Beast. Don't judge others by their physical appearance. And there are many other lessons there. For example, patience. Learning to control your temper. I mean, you can look at that. So yeah, really good story. It's not the best story of all. Certainly can be beneficial to even children. So that's point A of three, and that serve God's purpose are um, yes, yes, sorry, that their purposes are most beneficial. Just there, beneficial, and that's time too. So character progression, stories that contain character progression and or character development. So like a big rectangular block of marble. Um, okay, so I'm going to say that the second point isn't really uh, what serve God's purposes. That's really just my opinion. It's more of character progression. So they contain character progression and or character. So picture someone used this analogy of a block of marble. So picture a block, a big rectangular. Instead of being big, I'm going to say 10 foot, 10 foot tall. Picture a block of marble. Okay, and it's 10 feet, 10 foot tall, rectangular block of marble. Okay, I'm going to say picture a block of marble. That is 10 feet tall. feet, 10 feet high, 10 feet high, and let's say like, oh boy, how many feet do you think that? How wide is that? Maybe 4 feet wide. Feet wide. And another 5 feet in length. 5 feet long, 5 feet wide. So yeah, there's a rectangle. So some just say, again, like I just, some people can't see past the block of marble. So to many, this block of marble, this block of marble, to others with vision, with a vision, not that they can't see, but they have a specific artistic vision, just say artistic vision. This block of marble comes the land below to give. So that's the, you can see a character start. They go from a journey of starting out. Uh, they were at the beginning of the story. So um, it really comes to mind. Yeah, Beauty and the Beast is one that can see the Beast is selfish and all that, and he becomes more generous and more patient and so on. Use Beauty and the Beast for this whole presentation. Um, so yeah, that is. Those are only two elements of a good story so far. I think the conclusion is the stories that are most beneficial. Conclusion. Not only God's purpose. I mean, when you think of it, our purpose is God's purpose. So that's the conclusion. Ask me how I arrived to that conclusion. It just makes sense. Okay, so I'm going to watch a video. I guess it'll be like a reaction video. Since no one can see my face, but you'll hear my audio reaction to it. And what this video is a video on what is called the hero's journey. So I'm going to play that. Probably, but I've been meaning to watch this. There's something I remember from high school, stuck with me ever since, because most of the greatest stories contain these elements in a way. So let's hope this. There you go. Let's open it up here. Take a short break and watch a funny video. Not funny, but just not really on topic right now. See what how he without electricity. Yeah, this is something that's really, people are promoting the use of antifreeze to yeah, grain alcohol is probably better. Okay, so a lot of videos about, been watching a lot of videos about survival on especially cold weather survival and living. kind of in a uh, how do I say it, in a realistic in today's economic environment where people house, so you end up living either outside or you end up living in your car or van, whatever it is. But going back on topic now, the video I wanted to watch was called um, the Hero's Journey. So I'm gonna watch that and see how I can do that. It's 11 minutes long. It says Joseph Campbell, so I'm gonna watch that. So by the time the video ends, I think it'll be 12 o'clock, which means I'll have an hour so far. So here we go. I've read it already.
Self-discovery, or as Campbell simply stated, following your bliss. The hero's journey was his all-embracing metaphor for the deep inner journey of transformation. Every time and place seemed to share, a path that leads him through great movements of separation, descent, ordeal, and return. It is going full circle from the ordinary world to the special world and back again. This same narrative spans across religions and tales, including not only your favorite stories like Star Wars and Harry Potter, but within the lives of every human being on the planet. The journey stages may be shifted depending upon the needs of the individual story. The hero's journey can be just as much as
Okay, this person is a diagram. I'm just going to look at that briefly. So they're saying they're living in their ordinary world, and then there's a call to adventure. They refuse it. They don't want to break out of their comfort zone, but then they meet with a mentor, and they cross the threshold, meaning they leave their comfort zone. There's tests, allies, enemies. There's approach to inmost cave. I don't know what that means. An ordeal. So it seems that the tests, allies, enemies are not the big trials, the ordeal are in the middle. There's a reward. So seizing the sword, for example, Excalibur, or they get their superhuman, their superpower or whatever it is. They discover something about themselves that help them in that the last act, which is Act 3. So it says the road back, meaning it seems that they faced something that they had to recover from. They were wounded. And it says resurrection, return with elixir. And they're part of a special world in ordinary world in Act 3. Interesting. So let's listen to this. But essentially what I take from this is so far is there's a comfort zone that has to be left. And there's a mentor. There's a lesson, or at least something they have to achieve. There's a goal to be achieved, and then they not only, maybe it's not so much a goal, it's more of an objective that helps them achieve, and then they're able to achieve it at the end. But it's through much ordeal that they do so, overcoming obstacles, overcoming not just obstacles, but adversity. Okay, so I'm going to listen, got 10 minutes left, and then 10 minutes to 12 o'clock.
May be avoided, repeated, or shifted depending upon the needs of the individual story. The hero's journey can be just as much as an inner voyage into the unconscious mind as it is an external adventure. There are a number of steps the hero must go through for self-transformation. Typically, there are 12 steps that usually go in the following order. Step 1, the ordinary world. This is where we all start, in the ordinary world, where the hero is a lesser version of himself in the beginning, just like all of us. Most fall into the trap of society's doctrine and end up following the status quo like everybody else. We do what our family, friends, society tells us to do, which leads us into living a life that's not our own. But deep down, we know that there's more to life, that there's an exciting adventure waiting for us. In Star Wars, you see Luke Skywalker being bored to death as a farm boy before he...
And that's actually a satanic philosophies saying that tradition and family are wrong, and we have to break out of it in order to go on an adventure. No, that's actually that's actually very wrong. It's very dangerous. That's it's a satanic teaching, satanic value. Uh, a lot of times, ideally, when you go through your life journey and you follow the traditions of of your ancestors, or whether it's the religious practices, hopefully they're the correct ones. But anyway, they lead you to the ideal life. I'm not saying that it's going to be easy. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy just because you're following tradition. Actually, therein is the in those same traditions and cultural practices, there are trials. I don't think they were meant to be smooth sailing. They were meant to teach you. Otherwise, there would not be a culture. There would be no um, religion and culture if those things are not effective. Religion and culture were not meant to make life easier. Teach you, the hard knocks of life. So that's one of the misconceptions of this video so far. So it's not wrong, but this person's idea that you have to break out of traditions and norms in order to become the better you, and that's just wrong. Actually, that can lead to death a lot of times. So that is this satanic teaching. But I'm just going to dismiss what he just said about breaking out of tradition and family and culture and stick to you have to break out of your zone, because everyone has a comfort zone, whether you live in your traditions or you don't. Everybody has a comfort zone.
World, which is a metaphor for stepping into chaos,
Mm.
uncertainty, the unknown,
Uncertainty, right?
or as Jung would call, the unconscious. Step 2, call to adventure. The call to adventure signifies that destiny has summoned the hero.
Mm.
As we go about our lives, we will encounter multiple calls to adventure, opportunities to embark on a new quest which will change everything we thought we knew about ourselves and reality. Typically, this will involve delving deep into our fears or the unknown. We will be faced with a difficult challenge to let go of what we know. It's up to us whether or not we accept that call. Like in the Matrix, the call to adventure is when Neo gets the message to follow the white rabbit. Sadly, most people don't get past this stage. They live their life according to others, never really chasing their dreams because they rather play it safe and stay in the illusion of certainty. This often leads them to feel unfulfilled and stagnant. They never accepted that call to adventure. Step 3, refusal of the call. The hero will almost
Okay, so I'm going to agree with this. Is breaking tradition is good. I'm talking about the way that this world is structured. When you look at agricultural societies, agrarian societies, and you look at the industrial society. Yeah, breaking out of industrial society to go into the agricultural one is a good thing. To break out of to do the opposite. So yeah, I think a lot of this yearning for something greater is stems out of leaving out of because we've departed so far from where we were designed to be, which is an agrarian that when you leave that framework, there's that longing for fulfillment, and actually that is to be farmers, to raise animals, to raise families, and so on. That is really what fulfills us. I'm going to or whatever the work is, whether you're making shoes or doors or furniture or whatever the call is. People say, "Oh, I'm just a humble blacksmith," but no, actually, that can be a very fulfilling work. So I'm going to continue on.
always refuse the call, at least in the beginning, due to fears, insecurities, resistance, and the unwillingness to change.
Okay, so some notes on this so far. On this video, I'm going to say that everyone has a comfort zone. Um, uh, there's a call from God in a way. So I'm going to say, the hero's journey. Journey, which is almost its own point. the hero's journey. Which usually starts quickly. Story begins with protagonist, main character, living in a comfortable life, quote unquote normal, and they are being called by destiny to refuse the call, and that's where I am so far. So I'm going to continue with this video. I think let me just see, yeah, 2 minutes.
And this is totally understandable. Facing our fears, right? In the
Facing their
Matrix,
fear.
Morpheus calls Neo and tells them to cross the ledge. But
Okay, so it's facing their fears and departing into the unknown. They refuse the call because the call is to depart, venture into the unknown, and that means usually means facing their fears. Okay, so far so good. So you could think of Luke Skywalker, yeah. Neo, you can think of Moses.
Neo refuses and gets taken away by the agents. The hero's voyage as an external adventure. Refusing the call to adventure in modern life many times refers to avoiding our issue, right? Our unconscious mind. This could be a fear or an opportunity we didn't take because it's too risky. So we don't do anything and wonder what could have been. Step 4, meeting with the mentor. The hero encounters a mentor who gives them wisdom, insights, and guidance that will help them on their journey. In The Matrix, it was Morpheus who mentored Neo. In Star Wars, it was Obi.
Yeah, so meeting with the mentor, that's another one. So they meet with a mentor. When you think of Moses, his mentor was God. he met with God in the burning bush, didn't he? But that was kind of before he ventured into the unknown. Yeah, but anyway, meeting with a mentor. A mentor. And think of Joseph, who was his. It seems the mentor is always God, but that he's the mentor they meet with. That's just really interesting when you think of that. Okay.
Obi-Wan Kenobi to Luke Skywalker. In Lord of the Rings, it was Gandalf to Frodo. Just remember that meeting a mentor doesn't necessarily have to.
Just like I was saying, God is a mentor physically, although he met Moses kind of physically in a burning bush kind of way. Abraham, I think, is right. Doesn't
Even
have
though
to
many
be physically.
times this does happen eventually in the hero's journey. People like Arnold Schwarzenegger, Elliot Holmes, Robert Greene, Aubrey Marcus, Carl Jung, and Jordan Peterson, just to name a few, have all been amazing. I haven't met any of them in my life, yet they have helped me tremendously with their experiences, wisdom, and valuable insights. Step 5, crossing the first threshold. This is when the hero goes from the ordinary world to the special world, going into the unconscious, into the unknown. This is where the adventure of self truly begins.
So it's internal self-discovery and external adventure. And he's saying threshold. So it's like the first, it's venturing out into the unknown. So crossing the first threshold. 2 H's, 1 H. Okay, just taking notes on this. Next point.
This is also the point of no return. After
Point
the
of no
hero crosses
return.
the first threshold, life will never be the same.
That's the point of no return. Life is life is never the same. That's essentially taking taking birth, or I guess you could say that when Moses killed the Egyptian, there's no coming back. You couldn't bring the Egyptian back to life. I say that's when he killed the Egyptian.
This is the stage where Neo takes the red pill and wakes up from the
Yeah.
Matrix. Crossing the first threshold.
And waking up from the Matrix. Yeah.
Hero's journey, a piece of information that changes your perspective on life forever, or quitting your job and moving to another country. Step 6: test allies, enemies of the new world. Challenges, walls, conflicts arise. Have new experiences, but at the same time face more challenges. The most important function of this stage in this story is the testing of the hero to prepare them for the ordeals that lie.
Lies enemies, right? So think of Moses. He had to defend the daughters of Jethro.
This is when Morpheus teaches Neo the training simulation, or when Harry adjusts to life in Hogwarts. Step 7: approach to the innermost cave.
So test allies enemies. I guess Neil's test was the jump test. Across a building.
The innermost cave may represent many things in a hero's story, such as an actual location in which lies a terrible danger.
Approach to the innermost cave. Never heard that one before. Okay, I never heard that one before. Innermost cave. Danger in the cave.
Or an
Okay.
inner conflict which up until now the hero hasn't faced yet. In many myths, the hero has to descend into hell to retrieve a loved one, or into a cave to fight a dragon and receive the treasure. The dragon in mythology represents everything you fear, which guards the most.
Oh, it's everything you fear. Okay. So the dragon in the cave. Sense everything you fear. That's like Luke going into the cave in Dagobah and meeting Darth Vader. It turned out to be under the
Precious treasure. This is the metaphor for life. It's when you break through the other side of what you fear most that bears the biggest rewards and growth. But this isn't easy by any means. Like when the Oracle tells Neo that Morpheus or he will die, and that Neo has the power to choose who. Or when the Green Goblin asks Spider-Man to join him, but Peter refuses. It is at this stage in the hero's journey which they make a very tough decision.
Okay, so this is where they have to make a tough decision. So Neo being pulled that either he or Morpheus has to die. In the case of Moses and biblical characters, the point where they have to make a tough decision. I mean, Moses made many, but I would say, in Abraham's case, son, essentially, or in the case of Abraham, sacrificing Isaac, essentially.
Step 8. The ordeal. This is usually the
The
biggest
ordeal.
challenge a hero must face, such as a deep inner crisis or hitting rock bottom. Only through the fall, experiencing a metaphorical resurrection that somehow grants him greater power in order to fulfill his destiny. This is the high point of the hero's story and where everything he holds dear is put on the line. If he fails,
The ordeal. Greatest hero faces. You what?
he'll either die or life as he knows
He dies.
it will never be the same again. Step 9. The reward. After triumphing the ordeal in the innermost cave, the hero receives a reward. Whether it's a physical object, knowledge,
Okay. As a result, art is the reward.
or even love. The true all-healing elixir is the achievement of inner change. Neo blames himself for Morpheus being captured.
The true reward is inner change. Okay. A lot of people live life trying to achieve something. Say, it's going to be money or something tangible. And in fact, no, the reward is just the inner change that we become, and that's all we can take with us out of this life is who we are, who we've become. So that's a pretty deep conclusion to make or to reach.
So he decides to re-enter the Matrix to save him. Or in The Lion King, when Mufasa's
Just
ghost
rewind a
tells
little
Simba
bit. Kind of got
the achievement of inner change. Neo blames himself for Morpheus being captured, so he decides to re-enter the Matrix to save him. Or in The Lion King, when Mufasa's ghost tells Simba he must return to the Pride Land. In everyday life, the reward could be settling a conflict with a family member, or the shadow self, or even healing a trauma, which gives you a much better understanding of yourself, allowing you to live a much happier and fulfilled life. Step 10. The road back.
okay. I don't know what he just said there. Just skipped over my head.
Knowledge, or even love. The true all-healing elixir is the achievement of inner change. Neo blames himself for Morpheus being captured, so he decides to re-enter the Matrix to save him. Or in The Lion King, when Mufasa's ghost tells Simba he must return to the Pride Land. In everyday life, the reward could be settling a conflict with a family member, or the shadow self, or even healing a trauma, which gives you a much better understanding of yourself, allowing you to live a much happier. Step 10. The road back. After the hero gains the reward, we move into Act 3. The hero
The road back. Okay.
isn't out of the woods just yet. This stage marks the decision to return to the ordinary world. The hero realizes that the special world must eventually be left behind, and there are still dangers,
Return.
temptations, and tests ahead. Before Neo can leave the Matrix, Agent Smith kills him. Simba returns to the Pride Land and faces Scar. If the hero has not resolved the issue with the out of the woods just yet, this stage marks the decision to return to the ordinary world. The hero realizes that the special world must eventually be left behind, and there are still dangers, temptations, and tests ahead. Before Neo can leave the Matrix, Agent Smith kills him. Simba returns to the Pride Land and faces Scar. If the hero has not resolved the issue with the conquered villain, In real life, this refers to the shadow. It comes after him with a vengeance. In psychology, this refers to neurosis, bad habits, old addictions, and dark pasts coming back to haunt us, like an ex-girlfriend, for example, after we thought we were done with them forever. Step 11, resurrection. During the
Yeah, that's the road back to the ordinary world. So people say, the special world. When I think special world, I think, oh, this is a better world. No, it's actually that's the scary world. I guess you could say that's like the war aspect. It's like you leave your village, you go into the world war. You don't stay in war. You go back to your village, ideally. So it's like the road back from hell. I guess you could say you're going into hell, essentially, or a war zone. So it's like the entering into a war zone. So Moses, yeah, he went into Egypt, went back to Egypt, but he had to get back out of Egypt. So it's like, I guess the best way to say it is Moses going back into Egypt, but has to take the Israelites out of Egypt into the promised land. That is that's the biblical version of that.
resurrection, death and darkness are encountered one more time before being conquered for good. Danger is usually at the peak of the entire story, and the threat is to the entire world, not just the hero. The stakes are at their very highest. The hero uses all lessons learned on the journey and is transformed into a new being with new insights. This is my favorite part in The Matrix when Trinity tells Neo that she loves him, so he must be the one. So then Neo revives and kills Agent Smith. This could represent an ego death, for example, which triggers an enlightening experience, or it could be going to the darkest depths of our psyche during a hardcore depression, hitting rock bottom, extracting that wisdom and transcending it all with that fire in the belly, which makes us fearless, that helps push us forward in our self-development. This is a critical point in the hero's journey where he or she realizes that they had the power within them the whole time. Step 12, return with the elixir. Once the transfer
Okay, that's false. You don't have it in you the whole time. It's something you develop. So it's not that it was in you, it was something you had to discover. So it's like you had to find it, whether it's from your mentor or something external, but it is something that you needed to earn. So you earn it essentially. You either grow it in you or it's something you acquire. And it stays with you. So that's interesting. It's not something you always had, because if you always had it, you wouldn't have to go on the journey at all, would you?
transformation is complete, the hero returns to the ordinary world with the elixir.
So
Treasure.
return with the elixir is the next step. I think the direction is pretty. Uh, um, the hero turns to you. How? Yes. Give. It's in this case, it's new life. Turn with the elixir.
For a new understanding. Returning with the elixir means the hero can now implement change in his daily life and use
They can implement change in their daily life, in the world too.
the lessons of the adventure to heal his wounds and help others in the ordinary world. This is
Okay. To help others in their ordinary world. Hard not to plagiarize. Try not to plagiarize, but it's just saying so simply. You can't put it any other way. So they can do change. They can make changes in their normal world. In their normal world. helping others in their day-to-day world, their everyday world, not the war zone.
Important because unless something is brought back from the ordeal in the innermost cave, the hero is doomed to repeat the adventure until the lesson is learned, which many of us stay stuck in. It's like this painful karmic cycle that keeps hitting us time and time again, each time more painful than the last, until we finally learn our lesson. In life,
It's the ultimate lesson learned. Good point, but the innermost cave. Rolling that a little bit.
ordinary world. This is important because unless something is brought back from the ordeal in the innermost cave, the hero is doomed to repeat the adventure until the lesson is learned, which many of us stay stuck in. Until we finally learn our lesson. In life, the elixir can be a metaphor for growth, love, wisdom, freedom, or knowledge, which we can use to help others. Use the lessons of the adventure to heal his wounds and help others in the ordinary world. This is important because unless something is brought back from the ordeal in the innermost cave, the hero is doomed to repeat the adventure until the lesson is learned, which many of us stay stuck in. It's like this painful karmic cycle that keeps hitting us time and time again, each until we finally learn our lesson. In life, the elixir can be love, wisdom, freedom, or knowledge, which we can use to help others, even if it's just our close friends and family. The hero's journey isn't a linear path that you reach once and finish. Love, wisdom, freedom, or knowledge, which others, even if it's just our close friends and family. The hero's journey isn't a linear path that you reach once and finish forever. It is a cyclic journey in personal transformation where you constantly face challenges and resistance, i.e., the shadow, which helps you constantly grow and gain wisdom. But this isn't easy. Facing yourself is the most terrifying and challenging thing you will ever do in life. But it's the only way to truly transform in a meaningful, positive way, which will make a huge impact in others' lives. And this all starts with accepting your fears, walking your path to self-discovery, and living your. So what are you waiting for? Adventure awaits. What's up, guys? Hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to know more in depth about the hero's journey, then I invite you guys to check out the audiobook version of A Hero with 1,000 Faces by Joseph Campbell. You can get this for free by going to audible.com/yourmatetom. I'll leave it.
Okay, so that's the video explaining it a little bit differently. Okay, I understood it another way. In film school, actually, I didn't go to film school, but in one of my classes that relates to filmmaking and story boarding, was basically called Comtech, Communications Technology, and I think they described that something bad happens. Can't type it on my keyboard. Okay, something bad happens in the first 5 minutes. Or 15 minutes. Yeah, here it is. Maybe it's this one. Okay, I'm gonna see if I can put storytelling. Storytelling. Something something happens in the something happens. 15 minutes about storytelling. No, that's not it. Okay, I'm gonna look at this video. It's 4 minutes. See what it says.
When Neanderthals painted on cave walls, they told visual stories. They were people of very few words, and the stories they told were all about survival, filling their stomachs, avoiding dangers. In other words, filling people's needs. 10,000 years later, the ancient Greek epic poets, such as Homer, recited poem stories in spoken words, sometimes talking for hours. How to keep audiences interested? Well, he spiced his audience-pleasing violence and sex. The hero, Odysseus, battles the one-eyed monster Cyclops. He's with the fetching magical goddess Circe. This made the story compelling, and Homer took his place in the annals of history. Storytelling received its next big shot in the arm around the 5th century, when early forms of handcrafted books were produced in small batches in Rome. These masterpieces represent some of the world's earliest stories told in classic book form through written words. But even 1,000 years later, in Shakespeare's time, a large number of people still couldn't read, so didn't understand some of his eloquent words. So the playwright wisely filled his works with great writing for the heads of the intellectuals of the day and body scenes and humor for everyone to enjoy. Shakespeare appealed to the head and the heart, engaging a wide variety of audiences. Turns out that's a good strategy for telling stories, even today. 300 years later, in the industrial age, sophisticated technologies were leveraged to create storytelling machines through the invention of motion pictures and radio broadcasting. Movies opened simultaneously around the country, making it possible to tell one story to mass audiences. That made storytelling big business. Radio aired hilarious comedies and thrilling dramas with refreshing little one-minute breaks called commercials, delivered through wireless technology. Movies and radio were shared events, either in audience-packed movie palaces or home living rooms where the whole family crowded around the radio receiver. Only 50 years later, storytelling science was growing rapidly, blending the optical genius of movies and electronic technology that birthed radio in yet another new story platform, television. A single-eyed monster to rival Homer's Cyclops, and brand storytelling, in which advertisers promoted products to consumers nationwide, reached its zenith through TV spots. Pundits dubbed this brave new world after World War II the golden age of television. But there was only one big problem with the miracle of TV. Unless you owned a broadcast network or were a huge corporation who could pay for the airtime, nobody could afford to tell their story on television. It wasn't fair. Of course, as in any good story, a stranger always comes to town to rescue law-abiding citizens from the bad guy. The hero who tamed the Goliath of expensive exclusive brand storytelling on television was, of course, the internet. Now, in the computer age with web video on the internet, we have the perfect storm. A technology democratically available to just about anyone to use all the methods developed during the many ages of storytelling. You still have to have a good idea for your web video and a
Hmm.
compelling visual message, but if you do, people will respond. Moving pictures are the most engaging in history. People respond emotionally to video because they immediately identify with what they see and hear on the screen. People want to be who they see and to have what they see in videos. This gets your story across in the fastest, most powerful way possible. This is true whether a 12-year-old girl and imagines she could one day play guitar that well, or an online video showing a successful company that longs to have the same good fortune. Now that you know the accessible power of video, with the right concept and messaging, talent, camera, and editing, and thanks to the global distribution channel of the internet at your fingertips, the whole world waits to applaud your story in the gold.
Okay, well, it didn't really answer my question, but it just gave a history of storytelling, which is fine. But I'm gonna have to do a Google search, I guess. So essentially, I remember in this class I took, it said storytelling, and one of the things was something that happens in the first 15 minutes. Opening scene, essentially. Let's see if I can remember from that. Yeah, I can find it. I don't know. The writing a successful movie is not. The stories are built on three basic 6 stages in a story, 5 key turning points. All right, so he says here that the next part is the opportunity, the turning point. Okay, kind of took a point, but okay, progress, point of no return. Okay, so it does sound like complications and higher stakes. This guy's getting a little more vague with it. major setback. I guess that would be the resurrection part, final push. So he's making the ordeal to be a lot longer than it is, the climax. So he's more thinking about the emotional part of the story, the aftermath, to the conclusion. Conflict, yeah, conflict is important. It's an important part of the. Okay, what makes a good opening in a five secrets of story structure? How to stands out? You need the hook. You need a key event. So the hook is a read, or the movie watcher wanting to watch. The protagonist has a brush with the main conflict. The key event, okay. Well, the inciting event is the main conflict. The key event is. So let's see. Scene. So they say the miscellaneous scene is the first 15 minutes of the film, and usually it's like a world building kind of scene. The normal world. Okay, here we go. Um, Joseph Campbell's hero's journey. Once again, the idea is simple. You're the hero in what is the normal world. Okay. Yeah, conflict is important. It's an important part of storytelling for sure. It's one of the most important. If there's no conflict, then it's like you feel like nothing's gonna happen, and yeah. So I'm gonna just introduce conflict, and the normal world really means a peaceful world. Okay, so I'm going to stop the stream. I'm gonna do a new one and just go over what I've written and see how I can just refine it a little bit. So it's very introductory. I guess I could go deeper in the next one, but we'll see. I think it's only like 5 minutes though. Yeah, it's about 8 minutes, I think. Okay.